विद्यां ज्ञानमुद्रां कराग्रे ददतमुर्गकक्षं चन्द्रचूडं त्रिनेत्रं विधृतविविधभूषं दक्षिणामूर्तमीडे। ॐ नमो भगवते दक्षिणामूर्तये। ॐ नमो भगवते दक्षिणामूर्तये। मह्यं मेधां प्रज्ञां प्रयच्छ स्वाहा। मध्यं मेधां प्रज्ञां प्रयच्छ स्वाहा। ॐ नमो भगवते दक्षिणामूर्तये। मह्यं श्रियं मेधां प्रज्ञां प्रयच्छ स्वाहा। ॐ नमो भगवते दक्षिणामूर्तये। मह्यं मेधां प्रज्ञां प्रयच्छ स्वाहा। ॐ नमो भगवते दक्षिणामूर्तये। मह्यं श्रियं मेधां प्रज्ञां प्रयच्छ स्वाहा। ॐ नमो भगवते दक्षिणामूर्तये। मह्यं श्रियं मेधां प्रज्ञां प्रयच्छ स्वाहा। ॐ ओंकार सिंह सर्वेन्द्राय नमः। ॐ ओंकारोद्यान कोकिलाय नमः। ॐ ओंकार नीलशुकराजे नमः। ॐ ओंकारारण्यकुंजराय नमः। ॐ नगराजसुताजानये नमः। ॐ नगराजनिजालयाय नमः। ॐ नवमाणिक्यमालाढ्याय नमः। ॐ नवचंद्रशिखामणये नमः। ॐ नंदिताशेषमौनीन्द्राय नमः। ॐ नन्दीशादिमदेशिकाय नमः। ॐ मोहानलसुधासाराय नमः। ॐ मोहाम्बुजसुधाकराय नमः। ॐ मोहान्धकारतरणये नमः। ॐ मोहोत्पलनभोमनये नमः। ॐ भक्तज्ञानाब्धिशीतांशवे नमः। ॐ भक्ताज्ञानतृणालयाय नमः। ॐ भक्ताम्बोजसहस्रांशवे नमः। ॐ भक्तकेकी घनाघनाय नमः। ॐ भक्तकैरवराक्केन्दवे नमः। ॐ भक्तकोकदिवाकराय नमः। ॐ गजाननादिसम्पूज्याय नमः। ॐ गजचर्मोज्ज्वलाकृतये नमः। ॐ गंगाधवलदिव्यांगाय नमः। ॐ गंगापङ्किलसज्जटाय नमः। गंगापङ्किलसज्जटाय। ॐ गगनाम्बरसंवीताय नमः। ॐ गगनामुक्तमूर्धजाय नमः। ॐ वदनाब्धजिताब्जश्रिये नमः। ॐ वदनेन्दुस्फुरद्दिशाय नमः। ॐ वरदानैकनिपुणाय नमः। ॐ वरवीणोज्ज्वलत्कराय नमः। ॐ वरवीणोज्ज्वलत्कराय। ॐ वनवाससमुल्लासाय नमः। ॐ वनवीरैकलोलुपाय नमः। ॐ तेजःभुञ्जघनाकाराय नमः। ॐ तेजसामपि भासकाय नमः। ओम विनेयानां तेजःप्रदाय नमः।
ओम विनेयानां तेजःप्रदाय नमः।
ओम तेजोमय निजाश्रमाय नमः।
ओम तेजोमय निजाश्रमाय नमः।
ओम दमितानंग संग्रामाय नमः।
ओम दमितानंग संग्रामाय नमः।
ओम दरहासजितांगनाय नमः।
ओम दरहासजितांगनाय नमः।
ओम दयारससुधा सिंधवे नमः।
ओम दयारससुधा सिंधवे नमः।
ओम दरिद्रधनसेवदये नमः।
ओम दरिद्रधनसेवदये नमः।
ओम क्षीरेन्दुस्फटिकाकाराय नमः।
ओम क्षीरेन्दुस्फटिकाकाराय नमः।
ओम क्षीरेन्दुमुकुटोज्ज्वलाय नमः।
ओम क्षीरेन्दुमुकुटोज्ज्वलाय नमः।
ओम क्षीरोपहाररसिकाय नमः।
ओम क्षीरोपहाररसिकाय नमः।
ओम क्षिप्रैश्वर्यफलप्रदाय नमः। ओम क्षिप्रैश्वर्यफलप्रदाय। ओम नानाभरणमुग्धांगाय नमः।
ओम नानाभरणमुग्धांगाय नमः।
ओम नारीसम्मोहनाकृतये नमः।
ओम नारीसम्मोहनाकृतये नमः।
ओम नादब्रह्मरसास्वादिने नमः।
ओम नादब्रह्मरसास्वादिने नमः।
ओम नागभूषणभूषिताय नमः।
ओम नागभूषणभूषिताय नमः।
ओम मूर्तिनिन्दितकन्दर्पाय नमः।
ओम मूर्तिनिन्दितकन्दर्पाय नमः।
ओम मूर्तामूर्तजगद्वपुषे नमः।
ओम मूर्तामूर्तजगद्वपुषे नमः।
ओम मूलाज्ञानतमोभानवे नमः।
ओम मूलाज्ञानतमोभानवे नमः।
ओम मूर्तिमत्कल्पपादपाय नमः।
ओम मूर्तिमत्कल्पपादपाय नमः।
ओम तरुणादित्यसङ्काशाय नमः।
ओम तरुणादित्यसङ्काशाय नमः।
ओम तन्त्रीवादनतत्पराय नमः।
ओम तन्त्रीवादनतत्पराय नमः।
ओम तरुमूलैकनिलयाय नमः।
ओम तरुमूलैकनिलयाय नमः।
ओम तप्तजाम्बूनदप्रभाय नमः।
ओम तप्तजाम्बूनदप्रभाय नमः।
ओम तत्त्वपुस्तोल्लसत्पाणये नमः।
ओम तत्त्वपुस्तोल्लसत्पाणये नमः।
ओम तपनोडुपलोचनाय नमः।
ओम तपनोडुपलोचनाय नमः।
ओम यमसन्नुतसत्कीर्तये नमः।
ओम यमसन्नुतसत्कीर्तये नमः।
ओम यमसंयमसंयुताय नमः।
ओम यमसंयमसंयुताय नमः।
ओम यतिरूपधराय मौनिने नमः।
ओम यतिरूपधराय मौनिने नमः।
ओम यतीन्द्रोपासविग्रहाय नमः।
ओम यतीन्द्रोपासविग्रहाय नमः।
ओम मन्दारहाररुचिराय नमः।
ओम मन्दारहाररुचिराय नमः।
ओम मदनायुतसुन्दराय नमः।
ओम मदनायुतसुन्दराय नमः।
ओम मन्दस्मितलसत्वक्त्राय नमः।
ओम मन्दस्मितलसत्वक्त्राय नमः।
ओम मधुराधरपल्लवाय नमः।
ओम मधुराधरपल्लवाय नमः।
ओम मञ्जीरमञ्जुपादाब्जाय नमः।
ओम मञ्जीरमञ्जुपादाब्जाय नमः।
ओम मणिपट्टोल्लसत्कटये नमः।
ओम मणिपट्टोल्लसत्कटये नमः।
ओम हस्ताङ्कुरितचिन्मुद्राय नमः।
ओम हस्ताङ्कुरितचिन्मुद्राय नमः।
ओम हठयोगपरोत्तमाय नमः।
ओम हठयोगपरोत्तमाय नमः।
ओम हंसजप्याक्षमालाढ्याय नमः।
ओम हंसजप्याक्षमालाढ्याय नमः।
ओम हंसेद्वाराध्यपादुकाय नमः।
ओम हंसेद्वाराध्यपादुकाय नमः।
ओम मेरुशृङ्गतटोल्लासाय नमः।
ओम मेरुशृङ्गतटोल्लासाय नमः।
ओम मेघश्याममनोहराय नमः।
ओम मेघश्याममनोहराय नमः।
ओम मेधाङ्कुरालवालाग्र्याय नमः।
ओम मेधाङ्कुरालवालाग्र्याय नमः।
ओम मेधापक्वफलद्रुमाय नमः।
ओम मेधापक्वफलद्रुमाय नमः।
ओम धार्मिकान्तर्मुखपदाय धार्मिकान्तर्गुहावासाय नमः।
धार्मिकान्तर्गुहावासाय नमः।
ॐ धर्ममार्गप्रवर्तकाय नमः।
धर्ममार्गप्रवर्तकाय नमः।
ॐ धामत्रयनिजारामाय नमः।
धामत्रयनिजारामाय नमः।
ॐ धर्मोत्तममनोरथाय नमः।
धर्मोत्तममनोरथाय नमः।
ॐ प्रबोधोद्गारदीपश्रिये नमः।
प्रबोधोद्गारदीपश्रिये नमः।
ॐ प्रकाशितजगत्र्याय नमः।
प्रकाशितजगत्त्रयाय नमः।
ॐ प्रज्ञाचन्द्रशिलाचन्द्राय नमः।
प्रज्ञाचन्द्रशिलाचन्द्राय नमः।
ॐ प्रज्ञामणिवराकराय नमः।
प्रज्ञामणिवराकराय नमः।
ॐ ज्ञानान्तरभासात्मने नमः।
ज्ञानान्तर्भासात्मने नमः।
ॐ ज्ञातृज्ञादिविदूरगाय नमः।
ज्ञातृज्ञातिविदूरगाय नमः।
ॐ ज्ञानज्ञाद्वैतदिव्यांगाय नमः।
ज्ञानज्ञातद्वैतदिव्यांगाय नमः।
ॐ ज्ञातृज्ञादिकुलागताय नमः।
ज्ञातृज्ञातिकुलागताय नमः।
ॐ प्रपन्नपारिजाताग्र्याय नमः।
प्रपन्नपारिजाताग्र्याय नमः।
ॐ प्रणतार्थ्यब्दिवाडवाय नमः।
प्रणतार्थब्दिवाडवाय नमः।
ॐ भूतानां प्रमाणभूताय नमः।
भूतानां प्रमाणभूताय नमः।
ॐ प्रपञ्चहितकारकाय नमः।
प्रपञ्चहितकारकाय नमः।
ॐ यत्तत्त्वमसि संवेद्याय नमः।
यत्तत्त्वमसि संवेद्याय नमः।
ॐ यक्षगेयात्मवैभवाय नमः।
यक्षगेयात्मवैभवाय नमः।
ॐ यज्ञादिदेवतामूर्तये नमः।
यज्ञादिदेवतामूर्तये नमः।
ॐ यजमानवपुर्धराय नमः।
यजमानपुरधराय नमः।
ॐ छत्राधिपतिविश्वेशाय नमः।
छत्राधिपतिविश्वेशाय नमः।
ॐ छत्रचामरसेविताय नमः।
छत्रचामरसेविताय नमः।
ॐ छन्दशास्त्रादिनिपुणाय नमः।
छन्दशास्त्रादिनिपुणाय नमः।
ॐ छलजात्यादिदूरगाय नमः।
छलजात्यादिदूरगाय नमः।
ॐ स्वाभाविकसुखैकात्मने नमः।
स्वाभाविकसुखैकात्मने नमः।
ॐ स्वानुभूतिरसोददये नमः।
स्वानुभूतिरसोदये नमः।
ॐ स्वाराज्यसम्पदध्यक्षाय नमः।
स्वाराज्यसम्पदक्षयाय नमः।
ॐ स्वात्मा राममहामतये नमः।
स्वात्मा राममहामतये नमः।
ॐ हाटकाभजटाजूटाय नमः।
हाटकाभजटाजूटाय नमः।
ॐ हासोदस्तारिमण्डलाय नमः।
हासोदस्तारिमण्डलाय नमः।
ॐ हालाहलोज्ज्वलगलाय नमः।
हालाहलोज्ज्वलगलाय नमः।
ॐ हार्दग्रन्थिविमोचकाय नमः।
हार्दग्रन्थिविमोचकाय नमः।
ॐ श्रीमेधादक्षिणामूर्तिस्वामिने नमः।
श्रीमेधादक्षिणामूर्तिस्वामिने नमः।
ॐ श्रीदयानन्दसद्गुरुभ्यो नमः।
श्रीदयानन्दसद्गुरुभ्यो नमः।
ॐ श्रीमहेशानन्दसद्गुरुभ्यो नमः।
श्रीमहेशानन्दसद्गुरुभ्यो नमः।
About 7 more minutes. Okay. So let us analyze the verse number 11. Om Mohanala Sudhasaraya Namaha. So just a quick summary of the Sanskritam. Na vidyate alam yasya saha analaha agnihi mohaha eva analaha tasya sudhayaha amritasya asaraha dhara apataha tasmai namaha. So you look at the English translation of that verse. It says, salutations to that Dakshinamurti who in the form of a downpour, a very strong downpour, not just a few drops of rain, but torrential downpour of amritatvam, of nectar, putting out the fire of moha, of delusion. So a good explanation by Swamiji. Let's just read that and then I will add some comments to it. Men and women suffer from much pain in this samsara. That is why samsara is compared to fire, analaha. So this samsara does not lie outside of oneself, it only appears to be so. The delusion or the moha of the mind alone is samsara, just our attitude. Identification with the body, identification with the modifications of the mind such as attachment and aversion, a sense of limitation about oneself, erroneous notion that happiness is inherent in the outside objects, etc. All these are the play of delusion alone. So the individual jiva is tormented by this fire-like delusion. And to quench this fire, the benevolent Lord Dakshinamurti, who is knowledge absolute, showers his grace upon the devotee, giving him or her self-knowledge, and quenches this fire-like delusion, thereby helping him or her to realize their own infinite nature and remain ever happy and liberated. So it's a good verse. Mohanala Sudhasaraya Namaha. So just the Sanskrit again. Moha Anala. So fire in the form of moha. And so the one who quenches the moha anala with his sudha asaraha. Asaraha means a torrential downpour. Amritasya sudha means amritam, nectar, infinity. So non-limitation, a sense of non-limitation. Tasya sudhayaha amritasya asaraha adhara apataha means a torrential rain. The one who pours the torrential rain onto this very big conflagration in my mind is to that namaha, to that Dakshinamurti, my namaskara. So, just in a few words, and in fact this is kind of relevant to what we are studying today, so we'll go into more detail there. But what is pointed out is the word analaha is a name for fire. And the name analaha comes from alam na vidyate yasya. Alam na vidyate yasya means that one who does not see enough. The fire, it is very anxious to propagate and to keep itself going. And you cannot say that's enough. After that the fire will quench itself. No. It's very possible that it may run out of some material to sustain it. So itself it wants to sustain it, but the material maybe, the wood has burnt out. With the fire, the nature of the fire is that it is analaha, alam na vidyate. It can't say enough. I am satisfied and I don't want to really have any more. And so what is to be seen here is that our desire to be happy, is like fire. And you can see that fire permeates the entire world. So really speaking, people may be doing different things. They may be walking, talking, eating, resting, working, reading. But behind all of these actions in our life, for everyone, not as though some people are like this, some people are like that. No. Some people are like this because of how they want to quench their desire for freedom. But everyone in our creation, and it also figures because we are really deep down below, not deep down below, our whole nature is Parameshwara. And a Parameshwara which is free of all desires, is totally happy. This is our nature. But not understanding this, we are lost. And the nature of being lost is the moha. In other words, our desire to be happy. And so it is very natural that if something is behaving in a way which is not true to its nature, that means it is trying very hard. We are all trying hard, somehow or the other. Behind all the actions, behind working or retiring or exercising or doing whatever it is a desire, unquenchable desire to be free. That is like fire. It's like fire. And so why is it like fire? Because you cannot quench it. There's no way you can figure it out. You may try all kinds of different things and so on, but the basic desire for freedom is always there like fire. That's why it is called, and this is a moha, because you think that by doing things, you'll be able to quench this fire, to put out this fire, quench this thirst. And that's not going to happen. So this is why it is called moha anala, moha anala. Moha eva analaha. The analaha means a fire which is nothing but moha. So this we should see. It's something which does not get put out. But finally, it is put out by the Ishvara itself. Dakshinamurti, in the form of a teacher, in the form of teaching, puts it out. And so one who is able to, this is kind of like when you have these kinds of California fires, huge fires, like this place that wiped out paradise. And there is no fire people that can cope up with it. They also perish in the process. But if there is a huge downpour, it's gone within a matter of 15 minutes, 10 minutes. The whole thing is done. So similarly is the teaching. This is the to that teacher and to that teaching who is able to put out this enormous fire. Why is it enormous? Because first of all, it is enormous for me. I don't know how else to do it. And it is enormous because it engulfs everyone in the whole creation. This is the most most conflagrationary fire that you. It's not the California fire. This is a universal fire. That's what I wanted to say. And the one who is able to take that out to that person, my namaskara. So that's the meaning of this verse. Okay.
Is there another also explanation about fire is a cleansing thing also we hear?
The cleansing thing is that's a different thing. That's a very controlled. Yeah. So.
That's the karmas and.
Yeah. So the fire can also fire is a purifier.
Right.
Yeah. So fire can be and in fact any infection and so on and so forth can be done. So it's not as though the fire is bad. It is just the way you see it and the way you utilize it and so on. Just like a knife is a knife. You can either kill someone or you can use it for a very useful aspect of it. So the fire is like that. We should not, we cannot, in fact, the fire in our Agni, the Jatara Agni, that cooks all the food is what keeps us alive. Fire is a very important part of it. But here it is likened just purely to a moha in that sense. Yeah. Okay, let's start our class. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We didn't do the initial one. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvara Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha Rukarastvandakaro Vai Rukarastvanivartakaha Andakara Nirodhitvat Guruvitya Vidhiyate Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Okay, so let us chant verses number 31. Let's see. (31) and 32, just those two verses. Number 31. Swapnamaye yatha drishte Gandharvanagaram yatha Tatha Vishwamidam drishtam Vedanteshu vichakshanaihi Na nirodho na chotpattihi न बद्धो न च साधकः न मुमुक्षुर्न वै मुक्तः न मुमुक्षुर्नैव मुक्तः इत्येषा परमार्थता. So, quick revision from last time. If you remember, and I think just as a suggestion, practice would be that sometimes after the class during the week, in the beginning part of it, after the ideas from the class are still somewhat fresh in your mind, depending upon if you are taking notes or not. And I would always recommend taking notes. At least I found it to be very effective, because you are listening and you're also writing it down, even though you may just write quickly and just portions of it, not the entire sentence. But as a reference, it is very useful. I've always found that. So that's a suggestion. But whether you're taking notes or not, what you may want to do right after the class, within the next day or so, is to maybe note down some of the main points from the talk. And before you come to the class, the next one, review those main points in your mind. And I think this will be good for you to kind of follow the trend of the thinking and so on. Anyway, what we did last time, if you recall, and this is one of the main points of the last talk, was that so the main point was that if you are dreaming, you cannot wake yourself up. And the reason that is the case is that you, as a dream character, itself is not correct. You yourself as a dream character is mithya. Compared to the Jagrat Avastha, just the Swapna Avastha, so within the Swapna, you cannot wake yourself up. You cannot say, oh, I'm dreaming and I don't like what's happening to me. I want to get out of it. You cannot do that. Because the reason is that, as I said, the dream thoughts themselves are part of the problem. And you need to be a part of the solution, not part of the problem. So what can wake you up is an external agency. And oftentimes it's an alarm clock. So the alarm clock is not part of your dream. Or it can be someone calling you who's not part of the dream and saying, hey, time to wake up. You're getting late. Or someone touching you. Something has to happen. So this is an important thing. And as we saw, why this is important is that even though this is a chapter, this is called Vaithatya Prakaranam. Vaithatya Prakaranam means that this is, so our first Prakaranam, there are 3 Prakaranams, 3 chapters of the Karika. First chapter is Agama Prakaranam. The second one is Vaithatya Prakaranam. And the third one we will see later on, the last one, which is Alata Shanti Prakaranam. So, but this one, Vaithatya Prakaranam, the word Vaithatya means seeing that this set of experiences that I call Jagrat Avastha is also false. Fundamentally, it is also false. It is like a dream. So, this fact needs to be understood and appreciated, that our attempts, going back to Moha Nala Sudhasaraya Namaha, our attempts to put out my fire is going to be unsuccessful. And this is borne out by, it's not just a theoretical thing, this is borne out by the experiences of the entire creation. So the very participation in the creation is, you are within a dream. And if you can try to figure out how, and this is exactly what we are all doing. Fundamentally, we just want to be happy, but we cannot be happy. Why? Because you can be relatively happy in the dream, but chances are that your karma and karma phala and prarabdha and so on will not keep you being permanently happy. Something will happen to you and then you will be sad again. So therefore, what it means is that, so this way of approaching our life is what would be called a exercise of logic. So included in the exercise of logic is the fact that I don't want to do bad things because bad things give me bad results. This is part of the logic. I want to do the right thing. Okay, that's good, you're doing the right thing. This is exactly what Arjuna's issue was. He wanted to do the right thing, and he was a very pious person. He was not one of those cheats on the other side of the Mahabharata. He wanted to do everything to dharma. Why? Because he was thinking logically. We can all tell that if you lie and cheat and do that, it will come back to you. Somebody will catch up with you. And even if nobody catches with you, just the fear of that somebody might catch you does not allow you to sleep well. So that is very, very simple, which is kind of logic. But then what happens is that even when you are leading a dharmic life, a good life, even then you are not happy. Exactly the same situation with Arjuna, that even if you are a good person, you're still not happy. So there you employ the best logic you can, that perhaps if I take care of my health and I exercise, that will be wonderful. Good, it helps for a certain while. And if I have friends and I can talk to and so on and so forth, then I can exercise my brain and I don't have amnesia and Alzheimer's. Good, that also works for a while. All these things work for a while. And so this is employment of logic. But is it possible for you to be unconditionally free by the exercise of such worldly logic? No. Why not? Because you're like a dream character that is getting out of a dream. All the logic that you employ, all the tools that you employ, all the help that you have, all the wisdom that you have is not enough. Not enough. It can give you some solace, no doubt about it. But some solace is not enough. Fundamentally we want to put out the fire. I am a wanting person. I am not done yet. I am not completely happy. This is the fire. So this fire can only be put out by an external entity, and that is called Shruti. The fire can be quenched by Dakshinamurti, no one else. and somebody outside of my dream. So then it means the logic which is following the Shruti has to be employed. Well, the Shruti also cannot completely quench your fire instantly unless you're ready to listen and understand. And so there is some delay involved in listening and understanding. But it will happen. It will happen. Even a downpour might take a few minutes. It may not just, like in a dream, so that's the difference between waking up from a Jagrat Avastha to Turiya Avastha and going from a Swapna Avastha to a Jagrat Avastha. Going from a dream to a waking state happens instantly. It's gone. Sometimes when you wake up, I sometimes say, what was I dreaming about? It doesn't come. Doesn't come. In the case of changing from a Jagrat Avastha to a Turiya Avastha is not quite as simple, but it is there. And so anyway, that is the main thing that we should have seen from the last class. This is just revision from the last class. And Swami Maheshananji says that that what will happen is as the waking up process goes through, that nothing will change outwardly. Your eyes will still see, your mind will still work, but the view, your understanding of how that phenomena is happening will change drastically. And the same phenomena that gives you a sense of bondage, the same phenomena with experience, with knowledge, will give you freedom. So that's the only change that will happen. And so the message of Vedanta, which is again something you very much know, but it's good to revise it from time to time, is that this is a very important thing to see, that generally speaking, a human being wants freedom in due course of time. I'm not free now, but if I can do some things, then I'll be better tomorrow. I'll be better tomorrow. So as we've been talked about it, you should know this by now. This is what is called apraptasya prapti, an acquisition of things that you don't already have, but you will have some freedom you don't have now, but if you do some things, then you will have the freedom later on. This is the thing. Whereas what Vedanta says, and so for example, one of the things which is a common thinking is that if I just meditate more, if I just increase, Swami Paramarthananda in his talks on Ashtavakra Gita, and so it's very interesting to see he has so many people that he works with, so many students and so on. He says, I get approached by some very serious students who've been studying for a while, and they'll say, Swamiji, I'm very happy with the teaching, you're doing well, I'm doing well, but tell me, I'm able to meditate for half hour, help me meditate for an hour, or perhaps twice or 3 times a day. So the thinking of this is that if I'm not meditating, I'm in a state of not happy, being happy. When I'm meditating, I'm very happy. Can I increase the times when I'm happy? This is exactly like the spiritual version of happy hour. This is exactly right there.
Different spirit.
Different spirit, exactly right. Good point. It's a different spirit. If I can be happier for a short amount of time, this is not Vedanta. The true Vedanta is whether or not you are in meditation or not, you understand the play of this whole thing. It's no longer binding. You're not worried about things, you're relaxed. And you cannot be relaxed until you know the very way the whole thing is working, how it is doing it. But once you understand it, they say that Swami Dayananda used to say that. He says, there is a very interesting interplay between experience and knowledge. So experience can be with knowledge or without knowledge. And the typical case is the sun rising. So the sunrise can be there without your understanding that the sun really does not rise. It is the earth which is moving. The sun remains at the same place. This is a knowledge. But you can have the experience without the knowledge. And once you have the knowledge, the experience doesn't need to change. It's not as though when you understand that the sun really doesn't rise, that your whole experience will change. No. But what will happen is, you'll have an insight into the thing. Wow. I think I was telling you this, that I've done this a few times. When you have, if you go to a kind of like a sea coast or somewhere where you have, even from my house, I can see the morning sun around the mountains behind San Jose. And if you just not completely close your eyes, you can almost see the whole earth moving slowly. And the sun's, so you can simulate the actual knowledge. But it requires some concentration and some focus and so on. And you don't have to do that. So once you understand that the sun doesn't rise, even if the sun rises, you know it does not rise. So that phenomena is not, that is just an example. So similarly to that is the Vedantic teaching, which says, even though things appear to be dual, even if there is duality, even though there is Dvaita, that is the experience. But if you have the knowledge that the Dvaita is nothing but an appearance, the truth is Advaita. And so this has to be understood through Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam, through a long understanding. Because our mind always says, what? How can that be? People are people, they are different. Yeah, but people are different because you are treating yourself to be a person. It's like a wave is taught that there's no duality in the whole ocean. Whole ocean is one. And the wave says, what are you talking about? I see different waves. So that person is told, yes, you are seeing different waves. And the duality is from seeing the other waves from the stand of yourself being a wave. Don't you see that? He says, yes, that's true. So shift your identity to a different place. Well, first of all, I cannot do that. Where else would I go? But just follow the teaching and follow the fact that there is an identity of a non-changing entity called water. And so from the standpoint of the water, don't you see that everything is really the same? Yes, finally you can see it. Then, as the wave interacts with other people, the experience remains the same. You see that? It's no different experience. So similarly, for a person who's a jnani, the experience of dealing with people, talking to them and solving small problems and so on doesn't change. But there is an inner smile, an inner satisfaction, and says, wow, this is a big deal. It is not like understanding that the sun doesn't rise, because one can say, what difference does it make? Whether you know that the sun doesn't rise or you don't know that the sun doesn't rise, it's not a big deal, and it's true. But the examples, application in my life is just enormous. If I can see that really I don't have a sense of duality, if my identification is with myself as the Atma, not with my reflection, which is the body-mind complex, the whole thing changes completely. So that's the fundamental teaching that we are seeing. It's interesting, Swami. We'll do that as part of this verse number 31. So let's go to verse number 31, which is pretty much what I just talked about. Swapna maye yatha drishte gandharva nagaram yatha tatha vishwamidam drishtam vedanteshu vichakshanaihi. Vichakshanaihi means by a person, by people who really understand this phenomenon, who have really internalized the teaching of Vedanta. And so very clearly, so chaksha means to see, vichakshana means to see clearly, not with any doubts. Like, for example, you may have a person coming from a distance, and you can see the person coming from a distance, but you cannot identify who that person is. But if the conditions are a little better, then you can say, oh, that's that person coming. So that person who clearly sees is called vichakshana. So he says, Vedanteshu vichakshanaihi means one who are able to see clearly the message, the very teaching of Vedanta. Then for them, Vishwamidam Drishtam, the whole set of experience is as though it is Swapna Maye, as though it is in a dream, or Gandharva Nagaram Yatha. So the Gandharva Nagaram means, in the old days when there were no movies, then there would be people who are very adept, and they will create images from the clouds and say, see that person, there are two people fighting. And as the clouds change, his story also changes. And it's like a mesmerizing people. And you do that for a minute or two, and everybody claps and maybe gives them some money, and that's it. Nowadays we have a much better example of this, which is movies. And movies means that it is, you go in, you get a ticket, and you immerse yourself in a false experience. And you enjoy it. You enjoy it. And so here Swami Maheshananji, now I can refer to this example really. So the question is, yeah, but why do I have to see a movie that has bad scenes, sad scenes? Somebody gets murdered, the woman gets raped, and so on. Why do I have to do that? This is not pleasant. So this is the teaching of all acharyas, that because that's exactly the same question that we have. That can Ishvara not make the world so pleasant that there is no dukkha? Can't you please do this? Why? Because you will not believe anything. The whole play will be lost. You cannot have a play with some dukkha, some dukkha, some sukha, some dukkha. And it is all part of the play. And it is, there'll be no creation, it'll be complete boredom, it is just like, having a game where two people are, this is a very good thing to see, honestly. I would say that in Vedanta, they don't really give enough examples for sports. So sports means a kind of an artificial tension created so that it occupies your mind for a while. I don't follow much of the giants and all these people very much, but last night I was coming back from dinner with some friends, and I wanted to see how the giants doing. So they were playing Arizona, and when I tuned in, I saw that the score was 7-all in the 8th inning. So this raised a certain interest in me. Because I said, now it is close, it's only the 8th inning. If it was the first inning, I would not have seen it. But I thought that it's the 7th inning, so I should really follow the score a little bit. And I did. So, but I didn't watch, I don't turn the TV on at all. It's all on the internet. And then I had not done my walking, so I went outside and I walked for about 20 minutes, as I usually do after dinner. And then I came back, and the Giants were up 9-7 in the 10th inning. So I said, this is wonderful. They are going to win. Because they are trying to get to the playoffs, and they were 2.5 games out. So I said, this is good. So then I started making preparations for going to sleep and so on. Just before going to sleep, I watched it again. I saw it again. And finally, they had won. 10-9 in the 11th inning. So some kind of a tension was created. And there's no big thing. It doesn't affect me. Somebody lost, somebody gained. It doesn't, but it's just occupied you. Swami Maheshananji gives a very interesting example. He says some people were going in a train. And so there was a fellow who was watching two men talking to each other. Okay? So he was just watching them. And then men were talking. Where are you going? So the other fellow said, I'm going to Mumbai. So he says, oh, I'm also going to Mumbai. Very interesting. Good. Where are you from? So he says, I'm from New Delhi. He says, I'm also from New Delhi. So he says, where do you live in New Delhi? He says, I live in Sadar Bazaar. He says, this is just amazing. I cannot believe it. I also live in Sadar Bazaar. So he says, really? That is amazing. What is your house number? He says, it is C478. He said, oh, no, I'm not going to believe this. This is an apartment complex. I am also on C478. So this other fellow is watching them, talking to them. It's just like a sports thing. Then the fellow says, which floor are you on C478? He says, I'm on the 5th floor. He said, oh my God, how can this be? I'm also on the 5th floor. So this fellow said, wait a second. How is it possible that the two of you who are all from the 5th floor of C478 from the Sadar Bazaar in New Delhi, and you've never met each other? He says, sir, we are father and son.
Very nice.
So he says, otherwise life will be boring. So we thought we'll create this drama. And for everybody else, this is what life is all about, honestly. This is exactly what it is. No truth to it. But we create, this is my family. And my family should be very well protected. These are different people. I don't care about them. And I'm doing this and I'm doing that. All without any real substance. And the real substance is really to be inquired into. But it looks as though, so if you go to to these sports and so on, people are ready to die. They're fighting. All for nothing. I was telling you about that another example that Swami Dayanandji had given, that this fellow had come from a village and he had made a lot of money. So he decided to buy a soccer club, and he had 2 teams playing soccer. And he invited his uncle from the village to come and visit to view this. And this uncle had never really come to a big city to organize these sports games and so on. But he came. So he said, uncle, I invite you to be my friend. Let's watch this soccer game. So the soccer game started, and it was a heavily contested one with whistles, and there were fights and fouls, and they were fighting over the ball, running back and forth, and all so on and so forth. And finally, one of the teams won 1-0. And there was this big cheer, and that was the club that this fellow belonged, he owned that club. So he was very happy and so on. So he turned to his uncle and said, wasn't that fun? So he says, well, kind of, but I am not sure I understand. Didn't you say you had lots of money? He says, yeah, I have plenty of money. He says, I don't understand. Why could you not have given 1 ball to each of the people? Why do they have to fight over 1 ball? This I don't understand. If you had given to them, there would be no fouls, no whistles, and they'll all be happy. They can dribble and, and they can just do it. This is exactly our situation. Exactly. This is what all the Vedantin Acharyas are saying. We take things so seriously. Life is very serious. It is not serious. We just don't see the hilarity in it. And the hilarity can only be seen if you see the mithyatvam of it, vaithatyam. This is why it is called Vaithatya Prakaranam. So, Swapnamaye yatha drishte gandharva nagaram tatha tatha vishwamidam drishtam vedanteshu vichakshanai. So the wise people see this as a play. You cannot see this as a play. You see, this is an interesting thing. You can just say, see it as a play. The other person will give you a slap. So what are you talking about? What play? I don't understand this at all. So you cannot just say it you cannot even say it to yourself. Your own mind also protests. What are you talking about? You can only see it as a play if you follow the teaching of Vedanta. Because to see it as a play, there must be something with a higher reality. The play means a lower reality, isn't it? This is what I was going to talk to the Gita class which is coming up. That really, unless you understand the 2 levels of reality, You cannot understand that this is a play. This is where, this is what he said, this is exactly what is said, is that only an outside person, and you don't know how to understand the high reality. You see, and then supposing you read, this is another thing which is said. I don't need a guru, I don't need a teacher, I don't need Vedanta or anything. I can figure it out. There are books available in the library. Okay, you go there. Has it worked? It doesn't work. Because you cannot see the higher reality unless there is such a real-time push backed by the wisdom of somebody outside who knows what it is all about. You refuse to see it. So this is why somebody outside has to wake you up. Vedanta has to wake you up. So, anyway, so that's what that is. Then, in verse number 32, we can go to the next one. Na nirodhaha na cha utpattihi na baddhaha na cha sadhakaha na mumukshuhu na vai muktaha ityesha paramarthata. So, here he says, paramarthata means the vision of the higher reality. That this is a play can only happen if you see something which is higher than it is a play, isn't it? You cannot see an experience as just a joke, as just a Gandharva Nagara, as a swapna. You cannot see your dream as a dream unless you have woken up. So paramarthata means to the absolute truth, the higher reality. And the teaching of the higher reality says, na nirodhaha, na cha utpattihi, na baddhaha, na cha sadhakaha. I mean, there is no question of starting or ending or being bound or being free. These are phenomena that are really not there. It is like when you're seeing a play, you can see that it is really, you know, that example, that this is one of my favorite examples, really, of all times. Always try to remember it, and I gave this to the Gita class also last week. And so the example is that, as you know, there was I think I've talked to you about that before, that there's a woman actress who has two young kids. One is 3-year-old and the other one is 9-year-old. And they both are told that, listen, I couldn't find a babysitter for you, and I'm going to be in this play. And in this play, it's a violent play where I play a battered woman, battered wife, and my husband slaps me and beats me up, and I have to suffer through it. This is the play, okay? Now, the 3-year-old doesn't understand any of this. She's listening. It's the same sounds that she is listening. The 9-year-old understands it. She says, Mom, are you sure you want to be in that place? She says, it's no big deal. He slaps as though there's a big sound, but it doesn't really hurt me. And I get very good money for it, so don't worry about it. So these two children were both sitting on the side while the play was going on, and the play started. The 3-year-old doesn't understand this is a play. So she rushes into the stage, hugs her mom, and says, Mom, why are you letting this guy hit you? I don't understand. And then the whole thing just stops. The curtain comes down, and the director and the producer are so mad. He says, "What did you do? You spoiled the whole thing. What's happening?" He says, so on and so forth. She says, "I'm sorry, I didn't realize that." And the 9-year-old was trying to pull this child back and says, "It's okay, come back, it's okay. Don't worry about it." So this is where the 3-year-old doesn't see it as a play. You cannot distinguish the experience and the knowledge. Experience is the knowledge. Doesn't understand that there is a knowledge above the experience. Similarly to that is our situation. At this point in time, the Shruti is trying to say, please see this as a play, foolish person. Don't get upset about things. But I don't get it. What do you mean? That person, he was supposed to give me some money and he didn't do it. And he borrowed so much. And so what are you talking about? Why should I not be upset about it? He says, okay, it's all right. He doesn't give, he doesn't give. Go with it. Don't, it's just, you'll be taken care of. How will that be taken care of? Easy for you to say. Those kinds of dialogues happen. But finally, it dawns on me, oh my gosh, there is a truth about it. And so, this is a big tamasha. And here I think we have seen this, this is very useful to me when I really meditated on this fact. Swami Maheshananji used to say, he says, you know, if you look at your life, how concerned you are with your surroundings, your family. And if your child is away at school, you worry about her. Is she okay? She hasn't called for a couple of days. I hope she's okay. And if your child gets sick, you're so worried and all those kinds of things. But he says, do you know how many families you've had in the past? How much they all come and go. Then you are continuously involved with small, trivial details of your life. Rise above it. Let the world be managed by Ishvara. Your children are not your children, they are Ishvara's children. And people who are upset by the dukkha and the various things, it's going to happen. This is all part of the play. You cannot do much about it. What are you going to do about it? So here one thing, I'm just digressing and just giving you a general aspect of this. You know, one of the things that is very important for us to see is to do a discrimination between, as an example, between love and attachment. So Swami Paramarthananda also spent quite a bit of time on this. It's a very interesting thing to see. Do a discrimination between love and attachment. So Swami Paramarthananda said, so correctly, he put it in these words, we think that my worrying about someone that is close to me, like my children, is love. In fact, it isn't. In fact, it isn't. Because worrying about something doesn't help anything. It hurts you, and it could hurt the people that you are attached to also. But that is not love. What love is readiness to help. Whenever there is something needed, if you can fill in unquestionably, instead of saying, I don't care. So this is what happens when there is some problem outside of your own family. You don't care because there's no love. There's no love. But people that are around you, that you consider to be yourself, supposing you don't care about them, then there is no love. But if you care about them and you are able to step in and help, that is love. But that has nothing to do with the worry that comes along with the attachment. Has nothing to do with it. It doesn't help at all. Why doesn't it worry? Why should not that be the case? Because your worrying is a symptom of the fact that you do not believe in the help from Ishvara. There are more people involved than you realize. There are people taking care of things, and you do your part the best to do it. But worrying means that I don't want it to be anything else. And that just means distinction between your own people and somebody else. So this is also part of a misunderstanding of the play. Let it go on. In fact, there is no beginning, no end. This is what it is being said. Na nirodhaha. So nirodhaha means an ending. Na utpattihi. So utpattihi means janma, the birth of something. Like you can see the analysis of an ornament of gold. So as an ornament you might say that it began, but that's just a viewpoint. There is no real beginning for the gold. The reality has no beginning. It is always there. Na utpattihi, na nirodhaha. Na nirodhaha. It's interesting. Nirodhaha is also of three kinds. It's called Laya, Pralaya, and Mahapralaya. So, Laya means sleep. Pralaya means death. And Mahapralaya means the cosmic sleep. After 100 million years, the entire creation is withdrawn into a state of dissolution. But if you look at all these three, which is Laya, Pralaya, and Mahapralaya, it has nothing to do with you, the Paramatma, on which all three of them are based out of. So there was a sleep for the body. How much did you sleep last night? Oh, I slept for 6 hours, 7 hours. Yes, there was some sleep. But you were there before the sleep, you were there during the sleep, you were there after the sleep. There's no change in you. So the sleep was in you and it went out. And the death is also just nothing but a change of bodies with just really they say that the death should be visualized as nothing but an expanded period of sleeping. Because the normal sleep means that you can come back to your body-mind complex very quickly. It's still intact. In death, there is a change of clothing, change of bodies. And while there, you're still sleeping. But then, as soon as you're born again to a new, as a baby, then you wake up into a different world. But you was the same person who was sleeping, same person who was in this life, same person who is dead, same person who is born again. This is called pralaya. And then in Mahapralaya, everyone is so. In the case of death, I may be in pralaya, but you may not be in pralaya. You will not be in pralaya. We all don't die together. Similarly, I'm sleeping here, the one in India, people are wide awake. And so there is no pralaya, no laya, no mahapralaya. After mahapralaya also, there is a sleep for 100 more million years. Then it starts again. But really, there's no real start. It's just a waking up, manifestation, non-manifestation. So you might as well see that you're not affected of any sleep or waking up or anything. You are still the same. And the moment you see it, you are free from this sense that I am sleeping, I am alive, I am going to die. You're free from it. So, na nirodha, na cha utpatti, na baddha. The feeling that I am just a limited person with a lot of problems is also not really true. Not really true. You are just misplacing the identity. And nacha sadhaka. And so this is something that we will see more later. The feeling that I am trying for moksha. Moksha is not here, I will see it later. This is also not true. You are already mukta. You are not trying for anything at a later stage. Anyway, that's something more we'll talk about. Nana mukshuhu navai mukta means that I am free or not free. That feeling is all part of the play. You are what you are, which is you've always, there's no question of your not being free. This has to be understood. Anyway, so this is the iti esha paramarthata. This is the higher truths that we have to be woken up to. And so we will continue with this. I'll leave some time for discussions. And so close of today. Om swasti paripalayantam nyayena margena mahim mahishaha go brahmanebhya shubhamastu nityam loka samastha sukhino bhavantu kale varshatu parjanyaha prithvi sasya shalini deshoyam kshobarahitaha brahmana santu nirbhayaha sarve bhavantu sukhinaha sarve santu niramayaha sarve bhadrani pashyantu ma kaschit dukha bhag bhavet asuto ma satgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityo ma amritam gamaya om purnamadav purnamidam purnat purnamudachyate purnasya purnamadha purnamevavashishyate om shanti 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 hari om shri gurubhyo namah hari om. Raj, I forgot to record the audio, so you may have to transfer it. Thank you, sorry.
So what is laya? Laya means pralaya is death. What is this?
Laya is sleep.
Sleep.
Yeah. Laya means that your status as a jiva is suspended. You're no longer a jiva. Jivatvam is suspended. Jivatva means the sense of being a person. Is a mental. I hold. This is what's called ahankara. Aham karoti iti ahankara. That the I thought, this is I, is a phenomena of the mind. And the mind sleeps, and so therefore the phenomena of that I am, this ahankara, is also gone. That is called laya.
This verse 32, the last point, why did he add person emancipated? Well, the person who has the freedom was also.
Let me understand this, number 32.
I understand the rest of them, but the last part, I'm not sure why including someone who's free is also.
Okay, so you're saying
Not the highest truth.
muktaha, yeah, that's what you're saying?
Yeah.
So, muktaha means, when you say free of freedom, means now I am free. So when you say muktaha, means that it comes from, if you just follow the etymology, from much. Much means to free. It's a phenomenon. To achieve a sense of freedom is called much, right? Because I have been freed from something. Like you come out of a jail and you are saying, now I am free. So it's this is pointing out is that you were never imprisoned to begin with. How can you be freed? So this muktaha means freed. How does it translate? And none who is liberated. So you were never, really speaking, you were never non-liberated to begin with. So it's not really a phenomena of freedom. So you see that the word muktaha talks about the phenomena of freedom. And that also was false because you were never imprisoned to begin with.
That the Jivan Muktaha,
So the Jivan Muktaha is an interesting thing that we will perhaps talk about later when we go into some Nididhyasanam. Again, some of the texts from that talk about Nididhyasanam. So here in this Ashtavakra Gita, the distinction between Jivan Muktaha and Nitya Muktaha is given. These three kinds of mukti is talked about. One is Jivan Mukti, one is Videha Mukti, and one is called Nitya Mukti. Okay? So just a very brief introduction to it because it needs more time. So Jivan Mukti means a sense of freedom which is still somewhat of a relative freedom. That I was much more a samsari at one time, now I am relatively free. I can see the truth about things. I'm not bothered about things as much. Yes, I still have a sense of bondage with the problems with my body and mind. Because while I'm alive, I still have some bodily problems. But those I find will go away and I don't need to really worry about it too much. And then once the prarabdha is over, then my body will also dissolve and I will become videha mukti. Videha mukta means that I will not be born again. So those two are clubbed together as a lower form of mukti. A higher form of mukti is called nitya mukti. And nitya mukti completely understands that my body mind is also part of anatma. And anatma really has no real reality because it's a lower form of reality. It's like a play. It's an experience with knowledge. And you are forever in the sense that I am the Atma. And body problems also has no effect on it. The mind, of course, does not have any effect on it. The outside world also has absolutely no effect on it. So the Nityamukti is kind of like a higher form of Jivan Mukti. This is talked about in the yes.
So on Lai, Pralay and Mahapralay,
Correct.
some textbook use Nitya Pralay, Naimittik Pralay and Mahapralay.
So those are correct. That's a good way to look at it.
And,
So-
and to just understand properly, I mean, Nitya Pralay looks like your Sushupti Avastha.
Yes, your
every
sleep.
day.
Nitya Pralaya means, that's a play of words, but
Yeah.
Nitya Pralaya means one which happens every day.
Every day, yeah. And then Naimittik is physically the body gone.
Naimittika word Naimittika means which is occasional.
Yeah, but it's a date.
No, I know. What I'm saying is I'm just explaining the
Yeah,
word
yeah,
Naimittika. So the pralaya that comes from death is called Naimittika pralaya. Yes, absolutely. And the Mahapralaya. Yeah, same thing.
Like Naimittika karmas.
Like Naimittika karmas. So like for example, Nitya karma means that every day you do some things. Being nice to people is Nitya karma. But if someone is in a hospital, you have to just say, a phone call is not Nitya karma. And just saying, I'm nice to everybody and so I hope you get well. If he's a friend, you better go and visit that person. So some special effort required to express your love for the person is called Naimittika karma, which is occasional, occasioned by. Similarly, in our Tyohara also, you can pray to Ishvara every day, but on days of Shivaratri, on Krishna Jayanti, and so on, you need to make a special effort. And you should make a special effort. So that is called Naimittika.
Once you achieve Turiya Avastha,
Yes.
does it remain continuously or can
No,
go
no, no,
back?
no. It's continuous. That is not a question of not being. That is you. That is you. That is the awareness. That is completely understood. It's always continuous. It's not seen to be continuous. This is why questions like this happens. So that just shows that it's even see the person who is asking the question, the doubt of the person is the same. The doubt can be there and the removal of doubt can be there. But the person who is asking, Janami iti tameva bhantam anubhati etat samastam jagat tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye namaha. Janami means This is the turiya. Janami means I know. I know. So if you look at a question, is turiya continuous or not? This is the question. So a question reflects a doubt. So you cannot have this doubt unless you have awareness. I know that I have a doubt. Has two components. One is you have a doubt, and the other one is I know. Janami. Iti etat samasta jagatam. So this janami is the awareness which never goes. I know I'm asleep. I know I'm just woken up. I know I have this doubt. I know it remains the same. This is the turiya. This is the turiya.
So in Shastra, so many stories are like Vishwamitra.
Mm-hmm.
He was in such a super level and he came back to even negative, not normal, that he got attracted with Menka and others,
Right.
even after that.
Yes. So what's the relevance?
Was he not in Turiyavastha till that time?
So that really, so you know the Puranic stories should be seen in a context. It is not, they are not factual in some way. What this might have explained is that even a jnani like Vishwamitra can have elements of ajnanam in them. It's very possible. So this may be showing that. So at a certain level, the Puranic stories make sense. At another level, they don't make sense. So this is why Purana is at a lower level. It is really just Upanishad, which is talking about the truth and Turiya and so on and so forth. And but to explain the difficulties, because this is not an easy thing for us to grasp. We can still make mistakes unless the doubts are, unless the moha anala sudha saraya namaha, the whole thing is just done. The fires can still be burning somewhere or the other. And so the Puranic stories sometimes simply exemplify these facts, but it is not seen by other people. So Puranas are at a lower level. They are not really, they try to portray in a story form what the Shastra is saying, but it doesn't always succeed because they are at a story level. Yeah, something like that.
But so in the case with Ravana, he was thought to be jnani.
So there, in the case of Ravana, what is said is that he was a viveki but not a vairagi. See, viveka is not complete unless you have vairagya. So he was a viveki. And other things is that he was, this is another way of looking at it, is that is academic knowledge.
Like Kshotriya and Dharmanishta.
Yeah. No, that's a slightly different thing. That's a very positive aspect, because I'm just giving a negative aspect to that. The negative aspect is that one can look at this as an academic knowledge. I know so much. I know Shiva, I know this, I know the stories and this and that. But unless your own life has now dissolved within that knowledge, it hasn't really affected you. So Ravana's story was that he was an academic. He wanted to really just do all of this. And as well, he's a karmakandi. So he used to do puja and so on and so forth. But that had not permeated, and so the vairagya was not there. He was still attracted to worldly things and so on. One other way of looking at it. Okay.